Can anyone catch them, do you think?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, unbelievable. We didn't expect that.
As unbelievable as it sounds, this is another Arsenal podcast, that is the Away Gooners podcast. We bring news and reaction from Arsenal fans from all over the world. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Away Gooners podcast. We have got Arun with us and our super sub Keerthi. He's always there when people are dropping off.
So that's not the only reason why we want him.
We want him to be a full-time player, right? But jokes aside, it was I don't know. After a week of no football, I mean, it felt like we didn't have anything to talk about when we went in for the last pod, and then Burnley game happened, and now we have a lot of stuff to talk about, I think, right? It was a very frustrating game, both from the referee point of view and from our progress point of view. It just kind of, I know that a lot of people are going to say the same thing, like the referee's decision shouldn't matter. It should be up to us. We had enough time to recover and all those things. But it keeps happening to us. It just keeps happening to us. These referee decisions impacting our game is happening to us more often than not. Isn't it, Arun?
Keerthi is about to start. Let him go.
Yeah. Keerthi, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, it's frustrating. I think there are about like 15 odd decisions that have gone against us, which should have been, given for us in this season so far, right? Including crucial calls like penalties and red cards against us and things like that. So yeah, it is frustrating, especially this handball. It was so blatant. I don't know the reasoning behind that. We should talk about that more. Yeah.
No, it is just that I understand the whole point of view of VAR not interfering with the decision, right? But if not for that, what is VAR for? It should at least, if the VAR official, whoever it is, have said that to the on-field referee to go and check the screen and take the call by himself, he would have overturned that decision. But that is not happening. It is really frustrating. Whether it is a corrupt system or the system doesn't work the same way that it should, it is frustrating that it is always happening to Arsenal.
It's frustrating that it is happening as a whole. The whole point of VAR and the process.
For me, the problem is, see, after it happened to us, there is a rule change that the collision substitution came up. After it happened to us, the whole handball rule or the Luis incident, after that happened, the rule is tentatively changed. All these are happening after our games. Why is that? I mean, I get it. It's just a matter of time that we would be beneficial of it and all those things. But this is not the right time. We are at 10th spot. If this game, and every time this happens to us, like for example, the Wolves game or any game that happens to us, the same thing, we could have gained a momentum. We are there in 10th spot for a long time, even after the feeling of that the team is playing better, we are making progress. Is that just me? Is that just me who feels that the team is making progress, but there is nothing that we can show for it because of all these decisions?
Yes. The team is definitely making progress. You look at the stats, the number of chances that are being created, our XG is definitely not great. If we were to look at the XG numbers, both the numbers for us being able to score as well as the goals that we let in, they're definitely, these numbers don't look good. But the numbers that we have right now is a reflection of where we are on the table, and these numbers are definitely better than what we were at the beginning of the season. Even if you go outside of the numbers, the very fact that we have an ideology on the pitch and that we're moving forward, implementing the same thing over and over again. And if we take, like you said, if we factor the referee decisions out of it, It's all down to individual errors that we actually find ourselves where we are. There is definitely improvement. What I'm trying to say over here is that uh, as a whole, as a team, we're improving. But then the mistakes are not due to like a collective failure of an entire defense line or the entire midfield failing or the entire forward line failing to show up. That's not the case. We are definitely progressing, but the way things pulling us back are like these things like the VAR decisions, the refs,
No,
our
but
own
that is
play.
no. I mean, our own players. We understand that the problem for me is that, see, if there is a call for Arteta to be sacked, it's not going to be based on that you have a low XG. No, he's going to get sacked if we don't have enough points on the table, or if we don't end up in the spot that we want to be. And that. I mean, leave sacking aside. Even to the level that it's going to impact the club's revenue, it's going to impact the coming seasons and everything, right? And this shouldn't be based on some external factor. If the players are not playing, that's a club's fault. If the players are not playing, if there are mistakes, that's a club's fault. That is something that the club could rectify, the manager could rectify. But how can a referee decision or a system failure be responsible for a breakdown of a club? That is
It's
my problem.
it's not going to be responsible for the breakdown of the club. Like we see not qualifying for Europe as a disaster, but the club definitely has a contingency plan in place, primarily because it's a business and it operates as a business.
Yeah,
That
but
makes a huge
maybe
difference.
for this season, yes, maybe for this season we could have a financial planning, but the problem is we would not be able to attract the players. Would you think someone like, I mean, if we are going to make one step forward, we could have made two steps forward. That's what my
No,
concern
I
is.
totally agree with you, but then I feel there is really no point in talking about these things when it's visible that the club is making progress in terms of how we play, because that is the foundation. I'll just like take this in a very different way. When Arteta was appointed, he would have definitely, since the club is a business and it's a profitable business, or rather we reported losses last time, but outside of that, the club would have definitely had a strategy for him in the short term, medium term, and the long term, right? So the short term strategy would have probably been like clear out the deadwood, try for Europe if possible. It would, but seeing what is happening on the pitch, one simple example is like just comparing Arteta and Emery. At no point during Emery's tenure were we like actually seeing anything positive happening on the pitch apart from that 22 game unbeaten run.
Which
Because
was lucky. I don't go by that 22
that's
game
that's
unbeaten run.
exactly what I'm saying. Because at that point, what Emery had was he was trying to do the same thing, play out from the back. So he was trying to put in the same philosophy. But when things didn't go through, he went back to doing a lot of different things that showed like it was complete chaos on the pitch. And that was not down to whatever happened then was not primarily down to player errors. It was a team failing collectively, not knowing what was going on in the pitch. If you look at our results now, especially after the Chelsea game in December that we played in December, when like Saka and Iniesta played together for the first time, every game from then on has been like a building on the previous one. And that's the positive that I'd like to see rather than thinking about where we finish in the table, because this season is pretty much a write-off, and we knew that right when we were losing games right at the beginning of the season. If you
No,
want a team to recover from there, you need to be really, really, really good to string like 9, 10 wins or like go on like 20 games unbeaten from that point on. And we have to accept it that we don't really have the quality. But from then on, we've been on an upward swing where the games that we lose are, like you said, either down to the VAR decisions or ref, or silly mistakes from one mistake from that player in that entire game. Like nothing else would have happened. The player would have been perfect throughout the game. But that one mistake is causing us the loss. So which shows that the system is working. It's just one or two components that are causing these issues. We all know Xhaka is not good enough to be, like starting and playing. But then the guy has been really good on a good momentum swing. And this sort of a thing was not expected. So what I'm
no, we'll get back to the Xhaka thing, because
no, I mean,
I think we
let's
would
get out
have
of
to.
Xhaka. I don't even want to go
No,
into
we
the.
would have to talk about him, but before that, right? Like, why I'm so frustrated with the referee decisions is that exactly what you said, right? Keerthi, back me up or on this exactly, because every mistake like every mistake we make is punished a lot more than every mistake the opponent makes, and that is not
That's
fair.
again,
Well,
Especially in this game, we made one mistake. We made one mistake and we are punished and we lost 3 points. And even in the last game against Burnley, we lost the game because of one mistake, right? And then the same way, if you look at the other side, they made like that penalty shout that was overturned by VAR or didn't get like there are two things, right? First of all, the handball shout by Pepe, which was not given, which was a stone cold penalty. I don't know even if the referee doesn't see, what was the linesman doing there, right? What was the linesman doing there? What is
it
VAR doing
was
there?
also checked by VAR, right? Yeah, it was also checked by
Also
VAR.
checked by VAR.
It wasn't a penalty.
How it wasn't a penalty, I don't know.
The reasoning behind it was he was looking away from the ball.
Oh, come
So
on.
if you're looking away from the ball and then you are extending your arm well outside, your body, and your arm is like it's not like in an awkward position.
No, he was
right?
not running or anything. He was being a goalkeeper, putting his arm up. He was doing nothing like that.
It was that one was the worst decision that has gone against us.
Yeah. And the second thing, they made another mistake, which was actually the right decision, but then the ref gave a red card and then he rescinded because VAR interfered in it. Right? VAR saw that it's not a handball and it interfered, and it was not a conscious decision by the player to block the ball with his body. If it would have hit his arm, it hit his arm. It was just a reaction, and the ball, instead of hitting his arm, hit his shoulder, which was a right decision. But I'm saying they are getting away. The other teams are getting away with such mistakes easier than Arsenal, which is frustrating because not just about the team position, it's about morale, it's about everything, right?
Yeah, it is. So when it comes to Arsenal, right, I kind of agree with what you're saying. A lot of decisions are going against us, and it's helping the opponent team. But when you're seeing at this holistically, when you're seeing at this happening at the league level, you can see that it's happening every week to every team, right? And that's wrong. That shouldn't be happening. Okay, so it's a collective failure of FA. Every referee seems to make at least one controversial decision every week, if not more than one game. At least in one game, one referee per week is doing something that would be talked by the news channels, by social media, everything. It's as if they want to be in the limelight. It's getting ridiculous this season, especially. There is always this talk of decisions, bad decisions made by referees. It happens. It happens every season, but in this season, especially after imposing VAR in the past couple of seasons, you expect that the quality of refereeing has improved. You expect it to improve, but it's not. It's going down. Then what's the point of VAR? All right. But I was with Wenger when Wenger was, supporting VAR. It has to be implemented in the game. But looking at this, I just feel like we should probably go back and not even use VAR. If it's not of help at all, then we just don't use it. Because earlier we used to say this when a bad decision happens on the pitch, we say it gets evened out, it evens out when the season goes on, and we just console ourselves and we go play the next game. But now that there is a person who is sitting and reviewing it right after the incident happened, and then even then gives us this decision of it's not a penalty, it's not a handball, and what is it? So it's the exact question that that Arteta asked, right? It's the same question that I'm asking. If that's not a penalty, if that's not a handball, then explain me what a penalty is. Explain me what a handball is. I'll keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, that the other concern, right, for me is it also because of the fans not being in the stadium? Because fans would make the sound.
Good point. Yeah.
Right? Like I think, is it also impacting? Is the refereeing also get impacted, or is getting impacted because there are no fans in the stadium? I thought that would be a good thing, especially for VAR to start, because
That's what I would think too.
yeah, right. Like when a game stops, the fans would make a noise and stuff, and that's always going to
Plus,
make
when
FA
you're
think.
playing a home game, there is
Yeah.
no like effect of the pressure from the fans for the referees.
I was feeling the same way. Because every time we score, I am not able to celebrate 100% because of VAR. Because I was thinking, what if VAR chalks it off as an on goal, right? That is missing. That is something that I was that is something that I was holding against VAR. But on the flip side, I'm thinking maybe if the fans were there, this VAR decision would have been different. Do you think so?
We still were playing away. I'm not sure about this one. We still were playing away, so
We might have still had fans who would have, made a ruckus out of it.
I'm not able to wrap my head around the point that it is possible for the referee to give wrong decisions without crowds. I mean, like the
No, I'm not saying it's okay to, but I'm just saying that it plays a part that there are no fans, and so there is no, except the players yelling, which is normal for a referee. There is no other viewpoint that he should see it, right? There is no other pressure on him to make that decision.
No, that's the thing. Like even in this situation, you're talking about like an away game happening at Burnley. How many Arsenal fans would actually be there, and how many of them would have been like able to create that sort of an atmosphere amidst like say the capacity of the stadium was 30,000. Will we be having like a 10,000 Arsenal fans in there? I don't think so.
No,
So
absolutely
that
not.
even if we have 5,000, that number is definitely not going to be louder than the 25,000 of Burnley fans who would have definitely yelled their hearts out to make sure that they influence the referee. So even in that situation, I'm not sure like how they would play a part.
No, I think like it is like having even 2,000 fans making the noise better than 10 players making the noise.
Yeah, but I'm saying like the noise from the 2,000 would get drowned out by the remaining 28,000. So it's even then like my argument is just because it was an away game.
Mm-hmm.
Like a home game, I could understand. Like, okay, if this sort of a decision happens, then probably like I was talking about, the pressure from the fans would influence the referee. But if it is an away game, I'm not sure. Like I was talking, we were discussing the same VAR thing with some friends of mine, and what we thought was that the lack of a system like we have in cricket. Like if we have in cricket, if it does go to a review, there are so many factors that they have that those are like, okay, this is step one, we check for this. If this is not there, let's check for step two, step three, and then finally they award the decision. When we go to VAR, we really don't see what's going on in there. All that we see is if it's an offside, they measure with the ruler and they say like, yeah, this guy's a bit offside. But outside of that, it's loss, not really rules.
Yeah, that is the way of football, right? In general, we don't have like for example, we don't have exact rules. We have interpretation of the laws. That is why the margin of error or the bounce of the ball could determine a game. But
it's the same thing though, but then I feel that the lack of like a formalized set of rules but for a video reviewing system makes no sense. Like they should be having we cannot just like leave it like, okay, it's the bounce of the ball and that has to be determined in a certain way, or it's like the loss of the game can be interpreted by two different people into that doesn't make sense because it's supposed to be uniform for everybody, right? So the lack of such a strong system behind something as crucial as VAR is what is causing all the trouble. Like we can go on blaming VAR for all that, but then like unless we have something implemented like that, it's definitely going to continue to sin. That's why I said right at the beginning, it's not just about us. Like Keerthi said, every week something's happening. So there's some controversy with the referees in the VAR. So it's the system as a whole. It's not just about one club. It's about 20 clubs, which is probably playing in probably what is what is called the best league in the world. And the best league in the world is being hampered by these decisions due to lack of like a formalized set of rules.
Yeah, I also think so. VAR was implemented in a lot of international tournaments, right, including World Cup, and I don't think there were such controversial decisions from VAR in
No,
these
because the problem is that English referees for some reason are hesitant to go and look at the monitors. That's the problem.
Yeah,
every
we want
other
to talk
game.
about that. Yeah. It happens with English referees, is what I kind of feel. And I also remember Wenger saying that, right? You are saying that this one's the topmost league, and not one English referee is going to the World Cup.
No,
you remember? So
yeah.
So it's as if it's happening only in Premier League because people are incompetent.
It's just the pride thing. I think it's just the referee's pride that they are not ready to accept that they might be wrong, which is hurting the game. And I am frustrated about this. But getting back to the game though, Arun, actually you touched upon it a little bit about the goal we conceded, about being a Xhaka mistake. There are a lot of people who are saying it's not a Xhaka mistake. It is Leno's fault that the goal was somehow happened.
Not really. The way I see it, it's not really even a mistake. It's the lack of ability to take a better first touch and send it there, because the ball was actually played to Xhaka, and that is the philosophy of the team. It's not hoofing the ball up. It's about like playing the ball out from the back and then making things happen. And that's what Leno did. So from that perspective, I really don't see that being a Leno's mistake. In fact, I don't even see that as a Xhaka's mistake. Like I said, it was played to his wrong foot. And the first touch he took, had it been better, or had he been able to have the ability to, like, instead of taking a touch, directly play the ball into the path of Lewis, who was to his left, and that's what he tried. Had he been able to do that, it wouldn't have really, like looked like a mistake, or the goal wouldn't have happened at all. The fact that he took a touch, moved the ball away from him, and gave him an opportunity, that's really not a mistake. A mistake is when you do something like what Ceballos did in the Benfica game, when he was like running to his back, there was a guy right behind him, and he gives a short pass where the keeper is nowhere near. That's a mistake. This one, I really don't know if it was a mistake. It was like he was just not able to do it. It was not his. He didn't have the ability to do it.
Yeah, in that particular play, I think Burnley really pressed well, and they were in that
pressed
position.
Really well.
They knew that, okay, we are playing from the back, and they did that part very well for that play, and luckily it just went to goal.
No, interesting stat about that.
When I go back to the replay, one thing that I noticed is that Pablo Mari had a lot of space to just clear it, because he is seeing like four Burnley players, occupying the final third and, trying to press us. But he still had space. If he had been a little more clever, he would have just, cleared it. But again, I would not blame him too. It's just the way we agreed to play. It's a way we decided to play, and we followed it, and something bad happened. I don't know. It's just bad luck. It's purely
no. For me,
luck.
the problem is
That's a good game.
No, I don't accept that it's a bad luck, because for me the problem is it's Xhaka, right? The problem for me is it's Xhaka, and we have always seen him give like 9 good performance and 1 bad performance. And is it worth those 9 performance for 1 bad performance? And this 1 bad performance always ends up costing more than the 9 good performances you give.
Well, I agree that we have to move on from Xhaka. As in the team, Arsenal has to move on from Xhaka, and Xhaka has to move on next summer. I'm still, I'm very particular about that. I don't want to see Xhaka at Arsenal because I have a lot of bad experiences prior to this. Yes, he has recovered. His form is good. Everything, but as you said, I wouldn't say it's like there is a blip from him every 10 games. It happens even more frequently, but we aren't seeing it because now this is like a purple patch, and it's really good. The Xhaka is playing really well, but again, when everything is good and when we are not talking about him at all, then he makes something like this, and is being talked about for all the bad things.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I wouldn't say it's totally Xhaka's mistake, I would still say, we need to upgrade there. We need an upgrade there. We need to move on from Xhaka. Xhaka I don't want Xhaka next season or the season after. We need some other player there. We need a little bit, an agile player there.
Arun, what are your thoughts on that?
I might be controversial here. Okay. So for me, the thing is like, I was on the Xhaka out camp. I don't know if I still am, but like, of course, I would always like, move closer to that camp than farther away from that. That's for sure, based on how he performed and for the future of the club, of course. But if you really think about it, since the Burnley game where he was sent off, and when he started like making the turnaround, you were talking about performances. You were talking about 10 good performances and one bad performance.
Mm-hmm.
The Burnley game that was played, that we drew 1-1 last Sunday, was it a bad performance or was it one mistake?
Doesn't matter, right? Doesn't
No,
matter.
it should. It should. That's what
It
I'm
is
saying.
costly. It is costly.
Yes, but
If he would have, like, for example, if he would have gotten away, like I think it was against which team did he get away? I think against Leeds. He got away with a mistake. If he would have
Yeah.
gotten away with a mistake, it's fine. But he is not. Whenever he
But-
makes a mistake, we are not getting away with it. And this is not the first time. That's my concern. It's not a bad
okay.
performance, but
Okay.
every time he makes a mistake, it ends up very, very costly. The same way David Lewis, when he makes a mistake, it proves very costly, much more costlier than any other player.
I agree, but like, if you're talking about performances, then outside of that one mistake in that game, you can actually see the game, especially Xhaka's game, as two parts. Before that mistake, he was really good. The mistake happened, like him giving the ball away, and after that, he didn't go near the ball. He didn't go near the ball. Think about the number of times that he could have gotten the ball, but he didn't do anything. His shoulder was down, his head was down. He was probably thinking about what we are going to be talking about online after this, and that is where we've gotten him. If a guy who's giving like 1,000 minutes of top performance consecutively without rest, I don't think he was subbed even once during that time, right? He played all the games.
Yeah.
If he's able to do that, and it's because of his performance that he was not always playing with Partey. He was playing with Ceballos, he made it tick. He was playing with Elneny, he made it tick. He was the one making things tick. If that guy is making one mistake like this and he's able to string together a performance like 12 performances, very good performances together, it's about these small mistakes, like you said, they're the big ones that go punished. But outside of that, his game and the team's game is improving and evolving so well. So at that point, when he's so important, I really don't see the need for him to be like dropped or given away. And on top of that, I would rather get a number 10, another center midfielder, a left back and a right back, rather than getting like someone to replace Xhaka, because we need Xhaka for at least the next season. I know he's going to make mistakes, but if you take him out for someone of at least like, a little better quality than Xhaka, we're going to be paying a lot more. And that is definitely not a priority right now.
Okay, let me put it this way then. Would you swap Xhaka for Thiago?
No.
Really?
No. In the beginning of the season, yes. But right now, no.
Okay.
No.
That is interesting, because for me, the problem is this is not the first time this is happening. And that is concerning because I don't see Xhaka ironing out this fault in his game. Because that has happened for so long, that has happened so repetitively. I don't think he can rectify this out of his game. This one mistake that is going to cost a game, I don't think he could iron that out of his game. That is the concern I have. I don't.
Because I I told you something last week when we were discussing about like our individual us conceding goals right at the beginning.
Mhm.
I told you like if I don't know if you remember or not, every team makes these mistakes. Every
Yeah.
team makes these errors.
Yeah.
It's only ours that get punished, and that's why they're being very magnified. Otherwise, when these mistakes do happen, there's always someone to recover the ball. And for us, in all these situations, it did not happen, right? So this one decision that Xhaka took caused us like to talk about that in a very magnified manner, neglecting all the 12 games that he's had. If a person is making a mistake every 2-3 games or 4-5 games even, that is different. If a person is making a mistake after playing 1,000 minutes of quality football, in which he probably the only thing that I can remember is the William Xhaka thing for the Leicester goal. That's the only mistake I can remember during this that proved to be costly. Otherwise, there was always recoveries happening, and that's how football works. I was always against Xhaka, but then like right now, I feel we should be with him. Like at this point, because the man, if like again, I want to say the same thing again. If it was every 3 games that he was making a mistake, or every 4 games it was because of him that we were losing, like Bayern, whether he touches the ball or not, it's because of him that something happens in every other game. Lewis, he touches the ball or not, something happens with him every 3 or 4 games. Xhaka, 12 games, 1,000 minutes. That's huge if you think about it. 1,000 minutes of football without any mishaps from his side, and then he makes one bad decision. So if this is what we are going to be rating him on right now, we still have like 10 important games to finish the season in the league, plus like in the Europa League as well, depending on how long we go. Without it, can you like think about the hole that would be created if he
No,
was
I'm not saying you have to drop him now, but it is my point is it time for us to think beyond Shaka for the next
it
season?
would be time for us to think beyond Shaka next season, not just because of how he's playing right now, but also because of the priorities that we have. Like, would you want to take a Xhaka replacement now over a left back or a right back replacement, or like another striker if Laka leaves? Like, those are pieces that are more important right now. Xhaka, yes, it's an important piece, but it's not as important right now that we should be thinking about selling him and like getting someone new. And if we as fans are able to see the like all the mistakes, or rather the mistakes, if we are able to point these things out, how much do you think he's going to be like selling for in this market? So that's another thing. It's not about selling the player and getting losses. It's about selling the player at like a proper rate,
Okay.
especially with someone who's quality.
Kirti, final thoughts on Shaka?
Well, I agree with Arun. So here's the thing, right? If this mistake had happened, let's say before Christmas, the period when Xhaka was not performing well, I would be fuming, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just now saying that it's not totally his mistake. It's not anybody's mistake. It's just a little bit of bad luck mixed with a good play from Burnley there. Because I'm cutting him some slack because he has been good. The last 10 games, he had played 90 minutes through and through, great fitness, really good games from him, stable. So kudos to that. But again, I would not change my opinion that we need an upgrade in his position. I don't know who would be an upgrade to him. And as Arun said, it's not a priority now when I'm thinking about it, right? Yes, we need a right back, we need a backup left back, and if Lacazette goes, we need a striker, we need a really good striker, we need an attacking midfielder, we need a chance creator. And over all of this, Xhaka issue and Xhaka's position is not important. Yeah, okay. It's true.
Yeah, Keerthi has to drop off. So let's continue with him, without him actually. So the apart from that mistake, we had a decent game on our hands, especially considering that we scored early. We were playing pretty good. We had all the chances, with Saka missing a couple of chances. Pepe, when he came on, he missed a couple of chances. Ceballos hitting the post. Attacking wise, we seem to be clicking. Isn't that, Arun? Do you feel that way?
I feel we are slowly getting into the group. That's why I keep saying with every game, like for me, right now, the results, I know it affects our position on the table, but where we are right now, we are definitely not going to drop to the bottom half, at least with the run of games that we have. So, in terms of where we can go from the season, it's either we remain where we are or we are going to go up. So those are the two things that I see happening, and the way in which we play is actually giving me confidence, because the problems that we were having were always down to not being able to create enough chances, right? So we're able to create chances, and more than being able to create chances, we are actually getting closer to scoring at least one or more goals in every game.
Mm-hmm.
So these are all improvements, which shows that something's working in there, and that is actually visible on the pitch, where you see like the players pressing and going for the second balls, or like when we have the ball, the way in which we play it out, um, is 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 sort of ensuring that the ball is never lost at any point, because like
Mm-hmm.
the moment we lose the ball, that's when the other team is hitting back and attacking us, and even at that point we're able to regroup together. That's why I keep saying this. During Wenger's time, you always see the backline collapsing, the entire
Mm-hmm.
defense collapsing, right?
Yeah.
Or like the midfield, like there would be huge holes in the midfield where the player is able to run through, and forwards would not fire properly, or things would. For forwards were the only ones who were actually firing properly and doing well under Wenger
Mm-hmm.
during the latter years. If you see this here, we don't have world-beating defenders, right? Out of a defense line, the only world-class player is probably KT,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And in our midfield, yeah, we do have Party, but how many games has he played? In our attack, we do have Aubameyang, but like he's not had a great season. But fortunately for us, we've had like Saka and Pepe filling in, in terms of scoring the goals and all that. So this is again, it's showing us that like a team is evolving.
Yeah.
If anyone thought that we were actually going to be like finishing top four this season with Arteta's first season just based on the FA Cup win that we had, that person was definitely delusional, because it was obvious that the team was a work in progress even right at the beginning of the season. So much so that the fact that we didn't have a number 10 in spite of having a number 10, and Arteta like trying to play without a creative midfielder, it showed like where the team was and how we were doing. Like it was the lack of people, the lack of quality, the lack of I don't know if it was a lack of buy-in, but there was buy-in definitely, because the team started believing once we won the FA Cup. But then it was not really showing on the pitch. But even during those times, our defense was getting extremely good. How often do you see Arsenal having conceded the number of goals that we've conceded at this point of the season?
No, that's really a surprising thing. Now that you have mentioned it, and me thinking back, I'm thinking like that was a huge mess that Arteta took. For example, not just the defense, right? Midfield was not working at some point, and then we were talking about the big hole that is the number 10 position, and then we were not creating enough. Now that we are creating enough, we are having a decent defense, we are having that midfield that is working. Now the only problem is that our forward line is not firing, right? Like we are
Problem
not
more than
finishing. We are not
Yeah, we're
finishing the
not finishing
chances.
the chances. Yeah,
Especially the finishing comes from either Aubameyang or Saka or
Saka.
Pepe. These are only the three people who are finishing. There's a very surprising stat. I think you wouldn't have heard of it. Lacazette hasn't scored from open play in 200 plus minutes.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised because we've redefined his role completely in the team.
No, but
So
still, it's not about just scoring. I mean, I think I misquoted it. I think he hasn't taken a shot in 200 plus minutes apart from a penalty. He
yeah,
hasn't taken a shot. That
yeah.
is scary. For a striker, you need to take a shot.
It's true. That's true. Now, if you say it that way, yeah, it's definitely like, it's not a great start to have. Even if you talk about like someone holding the ball up, there has to be something in the play that would make you go into the box and provide you with an opportunity to take a shot. I don't know if it's him not going into those positions, or like the chances not being created, but I feel the chances are being created, but then they're just not being created for him. It's like he's not able to get into those striker positions for which the balls are being played. It's all being mostly played between the wings. If you think about it, everything that KD plays, it's going to be for the first left winger, or like it's further away to the right winger. There's nothing coming through the middle. And
no, but still, I'm not asking for a
I know I'm not.
like
I'm not.
scoring.
I'm just like trying to think out loud here. What could possibly be the reasons for him to not take a shot? That's like a very surprising stat if you think about it. Like we try and compare him with Firmino, but Firmino never goes like without taking a shot for 200 million.
Exactly.
So that's like 2 games that you go without taking a shot, especially.
And
when,
he didn't play like 2 complete games anyway, right? Like he hasn't. That is over 4-5 games probably.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
And the other thing is, right, when in this game when he came on, I thought it was not a number 10 position he was playing. He was playing as the second striker. We were playing 4-4-2.
4-4-2, yeah. He was playing off his shoulder. Yeah, we were playing a 4-4-2. It's quite surprising if you put it that way, that he isn't actually like taking shots. I really don't know what could be the reason. Even if his role has been redefined so much, like he's putting in the hard work, but for a striker, obviously you would want him to take the chance.
Yeah.
I'm really not able to think of like what could possibly be the reasons. He doesn't seem to be getting into those positions, because when he does hold the ball, and when he does win the ball, most of the time, if you see, it wouldn't be way too high up on the pitch. Could be. So I don't know if he's like not having enough time to run back into the box after he wins the ball and he plays it down to someone else. But yeah, even in the goal that Pepe scored against Leicester, it was Pepe, Odegaard, and Willian who were making things happen, right? I don't remember seeing Lacazette in the box, or was he there and not in a position? I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't think he was in a position, because it was played directly. It bounced off the keeper to Pepe. Yeah, that's not a good stat. That's definitely not something to be proud of.
This kind of makes me wonder, right? Like, this kind of makes me wonder. I mean, Aubameyang has been looking better and better in the center forward position for me. He's been I mean, we have not been giving him the credit that is due. We have been saying like, oh, he's not holding the ball up. He's not being a center forward that we want. But he has been doing better each game that he gets to play there. In that case, I'm not sure if we should be holding on to Lacazette.
I don't think we would be. I don't think we'll be holding on to him, because given that we've reported a loss of like close to 50 million, we have a long list of players that we need to sell, whether we refill positions or not, which of course we have to. We have players who are definitely not the quality that we require, and would not be helping us in this project of moving forward. One of the first names that comes to mind is Gundosi. Like he could be talented. He could have a lot of.
I don't think Gundosi and Torreira has any future with Arsenal.
That's the thing. So if that's like 2 people with 25 million, that's just going to offset your loss. Beyond that, to buy anybody, we're going to start actually like thinking about selling players. The ones that would be holding like a premium tag on them are like English guys that we have, people like Willock, or like
Amen. Yeah.
And probably Reece, though I wouldn't want him to leave. Probably he's also going to leave. So those 3 guys are going to generate the money, but then they are not Premier League proven. So where are we going to get the money from? It's definitely going to come from the sale of Lacazette. So if we were to be funding people, if we were to be like getting people into the team, it will definitely have to happen through player sales. And I see Laka leaving for sure. I see Laka and Eddie both leaving, and at that point we would definitely need to get a backup striker.
But in that case, imagine what would happen, right? Already, we don't want Ceballos to continue. We will not be having Odegaard with us. I mean, if we sign him up or whatever, that is another deal. But in the current scenario, we wouldn't have Odegaard, we wouldn't have Ceballos. If we sell AMN and Willock and then Lacazette, we have a very thin squad.
True, very true. But then we don't have Ayman and Willock now either. Out of those two, if I were to put my money on someone staying, it would be Willock.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see Ayman staying. Like, he wants to be a center midfielder, but his passing is like incredibly bad when it has to be good. So he wouldn't probably be just in the team as someone who can just stick to the opposition player and mark the shit out of them. But that's not the only quality that you want from him. Ideally, you would have expected him to improve and get better. But if that is not happening, and at his age, if it is clear that he's not definitely the quality like that Arsenal requires, we should let him go. Right now, we don't. How many midfielders do we have right now? Like, let's not talk about the number 10s, which is ESR and Ode. But out of those two, the people that we have, Xhaka Partey, who is probably going to be starting next season as well.
Yeah.
Ellen is going to continue to stay on as a squad player, and he seems to be happy with it. He never complains about it.
No, I don't think so.
The fourth one that we would be needing, at least the fourth one that we would be needing, would probably be another center midfielder who could be dynamic. And if Ceballos is not going to be there, I don't see AMN or Willock doing that role just yet, So that is definitely going to be something that we'll have to buy. I see Odegaard like staying for another season on loan because like Real Madrid, though they see him as a part of their plans, I don't think they have the need for him right now, and they cannot like provide him with first team opportunities. So if I were to choose between the two, I would choose Odegaard and probably get a replacement for Ceballos. And the replacement for Ceballos is going to be someone who is going to be second choice. So at that point, if we were to be looking for someone, it would just be a talented player from the championship or like a talented player from the league who's not necessarily playing for a top club, So, and the main objective, I think, of that would be to not have to spend 25 million on a backup player. And that would be the main objective there. So in that case, I think like we'd be getting someone for a low cost, because if we were to be improving, we're not going to be improving like with a defensive midfielder as well as a backup center midfielder in the same season as M1.
I have a counterpoint to that, especially after this game. Chambers looked really, really good. Comfortable with the passing. He seems to understand his role. He seems to be very neat and thorough. Would you consider him a right back backup and a midfield backup?
Definitely, I would. I see Chambers because he had a very good season with Fulham.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to compare Chambers and AMN here. Because both are like very similar kind of players. Both like started their trade like around center midfield, defense. Of course, AMN was like more of a center midfielder who was made a left back, right back. But Chambers obviously started as a center back, played center midfield, and has shown that he is capable of playing right back as well. So if we were to be like choosing between the two, I would definitely like go for Chambers. But having said that, I'm not sure if just one game is enough to really judge and rate that player right now, especially given that he's coming back from, say, 1 year of injuries and not having played at the highest level. So I would like to see him get a good run of games, be it like in Europa or like, like in the league, just so we can actually, like have a player who could potentially be, like you said, a backup for like a midfield role, be it center defensive midfielder or like a regular box-to-box midfielder. That's the good thing about like having a player like Chambers. The only thing would be like only thing going against him is like lack of match time. But apart from that, like I see him as a very good option. Plus he's English, so I think if he is retained, then that would definitely like also help with the homegrown quota, given that like we're going to be losing one center back. One of these center backs is definitely going to go if it's low. I'm thinking it's going to be Lewis, but let's see. And if we do get Chambers as a backup right back, that would mean that we don't really need a backup left back, which would push Cedric to backup left back. Like maybe get another top quality right back, So it gives us a lot more options. It reduces a lot of things.
Yeah, I think that's as much as we can get out of the game. The one thing that I would I would actually have to add is you got the score line for this prediction absolutely
I
right.
told you something would happen because of the way Burnley play. Like these guys are dirty guys. I mean, they didn't really have to resort to anything dirty during the game, except for that Lacazette scream, which made it seem like his feet was getting crushed under a bus.
Yeah, that was really. This has been happening. We talked about this in the last part where we are doing this play acting thing way too much, but I don't mind it. I think it's good. But
before we finish, I just have one question for you. It's just based on like the role that we as fans play in the game today. In spite of not having anybody on the stadium, like watching the game, the players seem to be like very preoccupied and thinking about what the fan base would do after every mistake or every goal that we concede or every chance that we miss. Do you think like this impact from our side? Like we are also guilty. There have been so many instances where we've spoken ill about players, but not in a way that would make them like go die. But definitely, like we have spoken ill about players, and it is definitely on the internet. Whether the guys see this or not, definitely not on the internet. But there are a lot more influential people than us whose comments are actually right in the face of players. Like the minute they finish the game, they turn their phone on. It's going to be like, bam, you're a shit fuck. You're useless. Go back to your thing. So things like these. What role are we playing as fans? Is our role like what we're doing? Is it justified in any way? Are we so invested in the game and in the club that it gives us the right to abuse players and do what we are doing? Here.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely no way that whatever as fans we do is acceptable. But the other side of it is that this is an age of communication where we are able to get to the players much more than any other generation had before us. We could directly tweet someone. We know our friend Jay who tweets about the players all the time. But that is true, and players are tagging super fans. Aubameyang always tags like all these AFTV super fans. So as a fan, we are much more closer to players than ever before, and this is also this is both sides, right? When we praise them, they are like when you see the AFTV guys going Obama blood clot young or whatever they yell, that is something that the players would in the past wouldn't have heard of, right? They would have heard of the songs that the fans sang, but not the passion that they are seeing. There is this Arsenal is also doing this fan TV or fan game reaction after the game where they are following some, and that is something that the players wouldn't know. And it's both the sides, right? When there is when there is a point where you are getting praise, there would also be people who would ask you to go and die. And I think that is why I think Mustafi and Xhaka, I give them a lot of credit in that scenario, because they have had so much abuse than anyone else, and they still had the whole what can I say, like the calmness to take that up and not react to it and come out of it. So I do have a lot of respect in that scenario. And yes, we should be taking all this with a pinch of salt. We have been following this club all our life. Doesn't give us the right to abuse players who are playing for the club. At the end of the day, they are employees for the club. We are fans for the club. There is a difference between what we feel and what they are. We shouldn't be abusing them. We could question their commitment. We could question their work ethic. We could question their talent. We could question everything. But we don't have the right to abuse any player.
That's the thing. It was really like, disheartening to see ESR close his Twitter account, and Balogun, like, for all that he's saying and doing, closing his Twitter account just for the fear of backlash from the fans
Yeah.
for the club that he's playing. I mean, like, it is very saddening. It's not just us, I find. It's just football as a whole, fans as a whole. Like, now Klopp won them like a Champions League and the league, and now the Premier League fans, after a string of defeats, are asking for his head. Like, I really don't understand what goes on in people's heads, like, when you're thinking about these things. And you're putting it on the internet for everyone to see. Like you, it's like getting up in the morning and right before going to work, someone yelling in your face that you're shit, you're shit, you're shit. It doesn't motivate the players in any way, and we are also like definitely guilty of it, and we probably be doing that again, kind of, because of the fans that we are. We'd probably be doing that again as well. But it's just
No,
like so
it is just that the extortion of fame. I think it's more there is a difference between being passionate about your club and using that fame or something to make the money out of it. Like so some of the fan TVs or whatever, they are just like the angry rant man for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Whatever he is doing, that is absolutely, it makes absolutely no sense. You being a fan, you could rant. Obviously, I ranted today about the VAR. I ranted today about Xhaka, but ranting is completely different from abusing someone, right? And I think that line is something that as a fan we should be learning. And it's a new world. We even as a fan, right, we don't know who is watching our video. We might be saying maybe 20 people or 30 people are watching our video. We don't know who that is, and we don't know where this is going. And for me as a person, I don't know if I'm offending someone in the way that we are doing it. We don't know. We don't know because we don't know who is watching it, who this is reaching. This is an internet thing. We have put it there and it's there, and whoever consumes it is going to consume it. So I think it's just a learning curve, and I think we would have to be conscious of what we are doing. But I think that's as much as we can do about it. There is nothing more.
Unfortunately, I think it's being mindful of the line and respecting the line as well. All that people do, I guess.
Yeah. Well, anyways, about the upcoming game, I think we have two very important games coming up. Do you want to do a prediction? I'm actually scared for the first time about the North London Derby. They're looking really good.
They are looking good, but so are we. And if we get out of the Olympiacos game without an injury, I would definitely give us a chance against Tottenham.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would. We would at least get 1 point. It's not going to be like a loss. We would at least come out with a point. But if one of our big guns like Partey, Aubameyang, Keerthi, Pepe or Saka, one of these guys gets injured, then we'd be in trouble probably, because beating Tottenham requires a lot of fluidity, and it requires a lot of control, because the way in which they are going to pounce on your mistakes is by when you lose the ball. So so we need these 5 people who are pretty good at not losing the ball. Even if we do have like Pepe losing the ball, then and the presence of Partey is a very comforting thing. So that's why I feel like Pepe might actually be playing on the left. We have Keerthi then. Yeah. So that's why like it's these guys who play a huge role in how we play. If we come out of the Olympiacos game without an injury, then I would definitely give us a chance to pick at least a point and maybe even nick a win. But
okay,
if
go ahead.
Something happens in the Olympiacos game and we lose one of these guys, or even Xhaka for that matter, then it might be a loss.
So there is like two sides for it, right? Because for me, I also feel that we have been really good against the the better sides, to put it in that way, because we cannot put like top 6 or top 7 or top 4, because Liverpool is in the 8th, and we really don't know about the season. But the traditionally better sides, we have performed really well since Arteta has taken over. So that side of it, I'm a little bit positive about. But also on the other side, we have Mourinho, and whenever I'm a little bit positive about going against a team that Mourinho coaches, we don't do well. So that side, I'm also a little bit scared.
It's good that you brought that point about Arteta, because I feel that is a stat that is often overlooked. The
Oh,
way
yeah.
in which we are playing against the big teams before we would start the game knowing that it's going to be a 5-0 loss.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like we knew
And
that
with
even
this
if we,
team, and with
yeah,
this team, that's
yeah,
what
that's
is.
exactly my thing. With this team, he's playing well against the bigger teams, the so-called bigger teams, like you said, and the teams that play a low block. We are slowly beginning to find a way out of it, and that's why I feel like it's progress. And coming back to that with your thing with the NLD, um, at the Olympiacos game, I'm the first one. I don't know if it's home or away. I don't know if it makes a difference.
It doesn't
But I
make a
think,
difference, I
yeah,
think.
I think we'll win the one on this day.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that we'll win on.
I think
against
we'll get past Olympiacos easily this time. Not easily, but definitely this time.
I think we'd go for a 2-0 win or something like that in the first leg, and the second leg would be similar. I think we would be able to, like, the players are motivated, and I think we are better team than Olympiacos.
Yeah,
We have a
because they have
better.
Socrates. So
Yeah, so what?
no, he's going to be playing for us. Agent
Yeah,
Socrates is going to
yeah,
score.
yeah, hopefully. So yeah, and NLD for me, I think I'm scared of it, but I still think that we would not lose big. We would maybe nick a draw, which would be a goal by Harry Kane as usual, and then we would get at least one goal. I'm
I
just
think we'll be. I think we'll continue the trend of keeping our nemesis quiet, like how we kept Vardy quiet. I think we'll be keeping Kane quiet here. I'm more concerned about Son here.
yeah, those two, and Bale is in good form too. So.
Bale, nah.
But yeah, so that's a good way to wrap up. I think we would wrap today's episode up. Thanks everyone, thanks for joining in, and
Yeah, it was
hopefully
great.
we meet after the victory against our the
The
noisy neighbors.
Yeah, yeah.
Bye bye.
Bye.